I feel like we should have those tick-tock beep, the little music in the background as I'm like thinking.
Awesome. Here we go. Michelle, so good to see you again. Thanks for doing this. What I try to do with these conversations is really highlight who people are, what they do, and how they can help others. So let's get right into it. Who are you?
Okay, well, Michelle Raz. I am founder of Raz Coaching Services, and I have 4 subsidiaries underneath me, Raz Coaching Services, and that is a focus on career development, internships, and also C-suite professionals. And then I also have coaching academics, and that one is geared towards middle school, high school, college age students. And then I have a new one called Thrive Beyond Therapy. And that one is for people that have come out of treatments that are going back into their workforce or to their academic life. And they need to bring the tools that they've learned through their treatments into their professions and academics and continue on that success path that they were in while they were in treatment or long term therapy. And then a new one, Sprout Coach, which is a hybrid for parents and students. Now you're thinking, holy cow, what does this mean, right?
Yeah,
But
no,
I
actually, what I'm thinking is, wow, that is quite the smorgasbord of offerings. And I want to get into all of that because there's so many different things that intrigue me here. But why don't we start how you got to be the coach you are today? Because
yes.
most people don't come out of high school and go straight into coaching, right? There's usually some kind of story, some kind of
Yeah.
other career, something else that leads up to
Yeah.
people becoming coaches. So, what's your story?
Yeah. Great question. Well, first of all, I'm gonna say that all 4 of those tie together, and I'll explain it, and it has to do with my journey. So I really got into coaching. What triggered it, was my oldest daughter, and she was, diagnosed with ADHD, and that prompted me as an educator to go to work to help her. And so maybe it's time to kind of back up. The umbrella theme through all of these subsidiaries is that my specialty is and has been since 2010 working with neurodivergent adults that fall underneath ADHD, high functioning spectrum, anxiety, depression, dyslexia, dysgraphia. The common theme through those all those different subcategories of a neurodivergent person is their struggles with their executive functioning skills. So I developed a framework that was kickstarted by my own daughter's struggles. And as a concerned parent, we go to advocate for our kids. And I found a program design that I liked for specifically at the time was ADHD, and that I implemented it with her. And I'm a bit of an entrepreneur, and I'll get to that at some point. And come from a very strong background in entrepreneurship, so I took this concept and developed it into a framework that was highly successful. And I began that was actually 2008, and then 2010 I opened my doors for business, and that was my flagship company, coachingacademics.com. Now, what happens when you start a company, you see all these needs arise as I perfected my framework, the program, and I started to see this amazing success, not only in my own daughter, but now I was putting myself out there for other people. And I will say that I've always been virtual. And I had on my website just till not too long ago, Skype available. And that just shows you how far back it was. And I had to convince people that it was okay. That this actually is a really good framework because we're meeting that student where they're at. We're not asking them to take more time out of the day and find me in an office. And so that opened up the door to be national right out of the gate. So with that, naturally progressions from high school to college students, the college students graduated and said, "Oh my gosh, now what do I do?" And so, as we develop routines and strategies that help an academic student, you can take that framework and apply it to the real world. And so, I went through a career development training course and ended up liking it so much. Long story short, I authored a book, and with somebody that had asked me to help her with a book. Anyway, she had to back out. I wrote the book. And then from there, I started working with adults in the corporate world, not only transitioning from college to the workforce, but then now people that were in the workforce that had ADHD, they were on the spectrum and they were struggling with their executive functioning skills.
Mm.
And so that kind of opened the door for that avenue. And then, so that really was my kickstart. And then I'm just going to say, Thrive Beyond Therapies come out because so many of our clients struggle with mental health, and they kind of come in and out of coaching, and so this is designed to help them bridge that. When they're coming out and they want to get their feet back on the ground, a little different than life coaching. It's very structured, high accountability in a positive format. And so I started developing these other programs as these needs arise. And I realized that I could help everybody, whether there's a parent with a young kid, with somebody struggling outside of treatment, and they want to keep it together and continue that success path, academics, and then in the career development piece. And so I have a team now trained. And so that's why I'm able to have these subsidiaries.
Yeah, that's great. There's one common theme that I have found across all coaches, and that is
Yeah.
there's some kind of life altering event, some kind of problem that makes them pivot into coaching, right? In your case, that's the struggle your own daughter had with her ADHD. In my case, it was my own burnout and frustration with the healthcare system that made me turn around and try to help other physicians and healthcare clinicians to deal with this current situation that we have in this country. So outside of that, what were you doing at that time for yourself? I mean, you weren't a coach yet at that point. You saw a problem
Yeah.
and you pivoted into that. But what were you doing before the whole coaching thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna preface that and say that I was a coach in training from the time I was probably, let's just say elementary age. And I'm gonna say that you're like, wait, what are you talking about? And I've talked about this on other podcasts a little bit. My father was definitely undiagnosed on the spectrum, ADHD for sure, but they just, they didn't recognize it back then. And so growing up in a household like that and seeing the challenges and also seeing how brilliant of a mind he had, but seeing the struggles, and in my mind thinking, that doesn't have to be that way. If X happened, Y happened, it would be so much easier for him in his life because he had a lot of interpersonal struggles with just some of the things that were going on. And so my tendency as I got older was somebody to assess a room really quickly, identify what needs to happen in order for success, whether it be in a meeting, one on one. If somebody was talking, I had this developed this ability to listen really deeply and start to problem solve. But here's the kicker. I would give advice. I didn't know what coaching was. So I would give advice, say, "Oh, this is what you do. XYZ, here's a roadmap." And then nobody would follow it. And I would get frustrated. But going back to it, so I was, working, my own my side hustle business. I was pretty much full-time, 3 kiddos, raising them, and I was dedicated to that. So I didn't have that coaching background, but I was looking to do something because I, again, come from a strong entrepreneur background. And when I went to help my daughter and saw this coaching back, in 2008, I thought, wow, I'm really interested. This really resonates with me. This is the missing link with my whole life of trying to give advice to everybody and them not taking it. But it showed me a pathway to help people get to what they want without me telling them. Nobody wants to be told what to do, right? Nobody's just going to be that perfect student pupil. So it taught me an approach that was really effective with my daughter, who was a little oppositional at the time, teen years. Taught me how to listen. It taught me how to be patient and trust the process. And so by now, I've had thousands of clients that have gone through my program with high success rates. But that was the trigger. That was my experience and how I sort of, I don't know if I pivoted other than came into my own because the book that I wrote is called Happiness, Passion, and Purpose. If we are living in our purpose, we are passionate about it and the happiness follows along. Well, I found that for me, I was living my true purpose in life and I continue to. I work 18-hour days. This is what I eat, breathe, live every day. I get it fills my well, it fills my cup to be out there helping people be successful. And so it really helped me solidify what my purpose was in life back then with her.
That's wonderful. That's really amazing. So I come at this from my own personal experience. My girlfriend has ADHD, and that was really my first real exposure to what that really means. I mean, I learned about it in school, right? I went to medical school and I learned about what ADHD was, but even in the medical field, there's a lot of uncertainty about what that diagnosis really means, and that's really my limited mindset that I came to the table with. Since then, too, I've joined the Octopus movement, and there's a ton of neurodivergence in that group as well. And so I guess I look at this from my perspective now, and I look at not just my girlfriend, but also all these other neurodivergents that I've met, and they're all fascinating people. Their mind just works maybe somewhat different than what a typical uh, person
Mm.
approach to life is. Even though it's a spectrum, right? We probably all are somewhere on that spectrum, right? It's just at two
Right.
different ends potentially. But so one of the big things is I feel like a lot of people don't know what to do. Right, with people on the neurodivergent spectrum when it comes to employment. I mean, you mentioned the executive functioning, for example, in the corporate space. So, where do you see or what kind of support do you think these neurodivergent people need most? And what do
Mhm.
neurotypical people need to know about the neurodivergent space in order to be maybe more accepting, more incorporating, more open to the idea that there's absolutely nothing wrong with these people. As a matter of fact, their approach to life opens up so many wonderful ideas and thought processes that could actually be incredibly beneficial to your organization.
Yeah, yeah. Are you watching and looking at my calendar? Because I'm actually speaking next week at a corporate office, in Portland, Oregon, and it's exactly that topic, and I created an 8-course module for corporate America to help train the managers, because I'm one person, and, and I have lots of one-on-one. I have a very small clientele that I keep because I actually really enjoy doing this. And I think it keeps me fresh with the current day issues that pop up. And I say that the issues because everyone is individually unique, but there's themes that happen depending on where you are on the spectrum, how ADHD is impacting your life. And so, with that, I think the approach for corporate America is this. It's not meant to burden the system, right? Of, oh my gosh, we have to have this accommodation and this. But it's an understanding that you're hiring a diverse workforce. Know why you want to hire them. If you want somebody to come in and fit that role and stay in their lane and be in their bumpers and you are dictating everything that that person needs to do and there's not much room for creativity or to highlight their strengths, you're probably going to be clashing and you're going to be probably disappointed with somebody that would be a client of mine. So I think it's really important to take a look at how we're hiring people and what our expectations are. Now, as an employer, you have every right to expect that somebody is punctual, that they are going to, do the work they need to do. Um, Somebody that comes in neurodiverged, some of like time management is a big issue, but they may need that time in order to activate their superpowers of creativity. And so you can help them by creating environments that are conducive to that. What do they need? Maybe the remote work situation is better for them with what they need to do. The supports like my coaching comes along. So in planners, check-ins, accountabilities, action plans that are driven by the employee. So it's not you telling them what they need to do. Here is the output I want from you, and here's why we need it or where when we need it by. How can you chunk your time and be accountable along the ways? And so I would say that it's an important piece to have in place. And this is where my training comes in with the managers, to be able to manage a diverse team. And it really benefits everybody on that team, not just somebody that needs those extra, planning, reminders, accommodations, and look at the work environment, the noise, the lights. It really is something that does need to be individualized, and there should be options and considerations if you want that employee to be the best version of themselves and utilize that true superpower that you hired them for. And so I really like the idea of companies piecemealing and finding people that fit a role specific that they need, that they know they're really good at. We can't be good and great at everything we do. And my clients are really good at what they do well and really not what they don't. And so understanding their strengths and why you're hiring them, and being okay to work around whatever they need to bring that value out. And you made a good point. I'm part of the octopus movement as well. And the strengths of somebody in that, oh man, is, it's they hyper focus, right? And so what they know in and out, and they're expert. And when they're not paying attention because they're not interested, we need to have supports around that, or strategies or routines. And that's where I break it down individually. But as a corporation, you could have a system for that. And that's that training that I put together. It's like an 8 module training course.
All right. Yeah. No, I agree with so much of what you have to say. Uh, but the other thing to that as well is, if you really think about it, you're hiring someone for a specific job because they have a certain skill set, or they're the right fit for that particular position for whatever reasons. No matter whether they are considered neurodivergent or neurotypical, you should provide them with the accommodations it takes for them to be in their zone of genius.
Yeah.
Because if you provide them with the accommodations that put you into your own zone of genius, but not them, well, then they're not going to provide, produce their best work anyways. And it doesn't matter whether they're considered neurotypical or neurodivergent, right? I mean, that's just basic human
I mean,
resources,
this is
basic
what I'm
hiring practices.
seeing. You make a really good point, Felix. And here's what I'm seeing today is this. And you're right, it doesn't have to be, it could be neurotypical, neurodivergent. It's all the same issue, but it's more pronounced for somebody that really needs to be playing to their strengths. And that's why they're so amazing at what they do, is because they've focused on that. Companies today, what I'm finding is that a lot of people are hiring somebody to come in for an initial role, and then they start diverging into other roles, or they pick up extra duties, or can you cover here because they're consolidating in the workforce, especially in the larger companies. And so somebody that was coming in to work in port A now has to straddle two others, and they're not playing to their strengths in those others. They're frustrated, and it affects the very reason, and the main reason, and the main job. And so as employers, it's easy to say, hey, can you just go pick up and do this, or can you go over here and help so and so? But really considering, is that a strength? Is it going to be taking away from the reason why you hired them and what they're really good at, and their happiness factor oftentimes goes down because they're stressed. They know it's not playing to their strengths, but they want to appease the boss, their supervisor, so they do it. They don't know how to say no, and so it goes along, and then all of a sudden, you're looking at somebody. What happened? They used to be so productive. They were happy. They feel it. They start to shut down, because, especially my clients, because they're used to disappointing people. They're used to not fitting in correctly, and they have to start masking. They don't want to expose their weaknesses because they're feeling that they're, going to be judged. They'll be skipped on a promotion. And so it starts to kind of slowly cycle down. And oftentimes I'll get a client that's ready to quit because it's just not, conducive to them anymore. And it really started in the beginning when they were hired for their skill set, and then they strated they were stretched out, and it wasn't, a good fit for them, and so recognize that in management, and I see a lot of people, not that they intend to ignore it, but we get busy and we need help. All hands on deck. Everybody's gotta do something. And so if there can be an approach of, "Is this in your wheelhouse?"
Yeah. No, the other thought, with that that kinda goes along with it, is so my girlfriend is working on her PhD right now, and she's studying fathers of children with autism, and so I've been diving into some of this autism literature. And, it's fascinating how little we actually know about not just autism, but the parenting that's involved, of children with autism, and then let alone the long-term effects of autism on these children's lives, or the
For the most
studies in
part,
the
are
most children
are
with autism, but what are the long-term effects, right? And where are their
Yeah,
social engagement, their social support when the parents are no longer around? The literature itself from a scientific standpoint in that subject is very poor, overall, I
yeah.
would say.
And
So,
dated, very dated.
no doubt, no doubt. So, knowing that even on the scientific side of things, we haven't figured this out, right? Even though, we pretend through the DSM that we have all the answers in that space. What would you like to let the world know? Anybody who's listening, like, what's one piece of advice anybody can take away from this
Yeah.
about this space, whether that's ADHD, any of the neurodivergent space, really, whether you have it or you're working with someone or you're planning to hire someone with it, right? What's the one thing that we all should know more of or understand better
Yeah.
about this space?
Yeah. Find your true gift in life. Everybody has one. We know that. You have your strength, your interests, and if you don't know what it is, um, I can help you unearth it. Now, in my book, I have a process that shows exactly what you need to do, and it's a multimodal approach. But anyway, find your strength, your gift to the world. And with that, be confident that people need that gift. Yeah, we all have weaknesses. And because of the way our system is set up, the education system, our employment system, we're meant to come with executive functioning skills. And it's a learned process. And if you grew up in a home that was dysfunctional, or maybe it was chaotic in some way, or you have a diagnosis ADHD, autism with ADHD combined, um, anxiety, depression, those things will hamper and dim your ability to execute your functioning skills, attention, organization, time management, emotional regulation. So, with that, know that that's something that needs to be worked on. And there is ways to do it, not just medication, right? You've got the coaching, you can do meditation, mindfulness and practices are really important. I tell people, you need to oil your brain and to be able to function correctly. So, with the right strategies in place and routines, you can do anything that you want. I've seen it, I've witnessed it where people thought I could never do this because we tend to, over the years, hang on what didn't work. And let's focus our attention on what did work or what does work or what you think you're willing to try that plays to those strengths, and especially in this day and age, we have so many tools. If you're terrible at math, there's an app for you. Interpersonal skills. We can put places, steps in place before you actually make a decision. And there's strategies that you can do to help you process if you need that extra time to process what the action should be. The clients that I work with, they know the answers. They're brilliant. They're IQs are, huge. They're the ones that are coming up with the ideas that are going to change our world, but they still need that structure and somebody to help them navigate some of those weaknesses. Your personal assistant, that's kind of a thing. So that would be my biggest takeaway for somebody that is in a position, they're neurodivergent, is that there is this amazing gift and go with it. Sometimes I've seen parents of students that were, flabbergasted how much time they spend on the internet. And I'm not advocating this at all, but gaming and whatnot, turn that pain point for the parent, that love for the student into a career path to where they're maybe designing the games. They might be emceeing some game show and they turn it in and now I'm a media podcaster with their gaming. And so if that is their natural interest, how can you shape it into a career path that's going to be balanced and whole for them? And there's a lot of other factors that could go into that to help them be balanced with life.
No, that's great. I
That's
love
my 2
that.
cents. Yeah.
What you talk about with finding that gift that we all have. I mean, I do that with my coaching clients as well, right? And one of the early things we work on is finding that purpose, that special zone of genius that we all have. What are you really good at? What are your strengths? Because a lot of people don't know that, right? I mean, intuitively, some people might, but to actually put words to it or write it down somewhere, something that a lot of people are just incapable of doing because they've never thought of it that way. But in doing so, it really enlightens you about what it is that you should focus on in your life. So I love that piece of advice
Thanks.
completely. Now, the other thing you mentioned twice now, which I think is a very important aspect, is as coaches, we are not here to give advice or tell people how to live their life, right? We're here as a guide to help them figure out for themselves what it is that they need to do, want to do, what they desire to do. So, speaking of coaching, let's talk about all these programs that you have, all these subsidiaries in your coaching practice. So, tell us more about what they are and what's involved, and who should engage with you in those programs.
Oh, gosh. Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I kind of mentioned the corporate training program I have for like a train the trainer. And then I do have few one-on-ones on those. So that is Raz Coaching, razcoaching.com. And then under that umbrella, I do have, that's where I work with people in internships or discovering their true career path in that element. The coaching academics is um, something where I have coaches trained under my program. And that is something for a middle school, high school, college student, helping them succeed. And I will tell you, succeed. 93% of the high schoolers that have been through our program in just a semester, 93% at risk of failing a class or more pass. 90% of college students are successful, including ones with are on academic probation. So that just kind of tells you the meat and potatoes of the accountability that we have in there. And I say accountability, it's the student holding themselves accountable with the coach guiding them. So again, we're not, I have this thing when I'm training coaches, we're not pushing from behind, we're not tugging them forward, we're partnering, as you said, beside them because we do a goal setting and they want to graduate, they want to be successful in college, and so in college it's that same format, middle school independence, seeking independence and being able to navigate the education world while managing their emotional regulation, time management, organization, procrastination, motivation, all those things. Now, the other two is the Thrive Beyond Therapy. That one came about because in our academic program, we have many students that are, like we talk about emotional regulation, we get to a certain point with their emotional state, and we have a protocol. Mind you, all of our coaches either have an education psychology background, so they're astute, they're ready to take action when they need to. And so at some point, we've referred off, their anxiety, their depression is coming back to the point where we might refer them out to somebody to get them treatment, or they've come out of treatment and now they want to go to the academic life and they need this support so they don't go backwards again. Well, that's the birth of Thrive Beyond Therapy. So that, and sometimes they just say, I just want to get my life back together and stay true to my tools that I've learned through the program. That's what Thrive Beyond Therapy is all about. But they can segue back into the academic coaching or have a blend of the two. So that kind of came out of the 14 years of working with the students. That being said, it's open to anybody from tween, I should say, as young as 12 all the way through adulthood, as far as that piece goes. And again, I've had personal experience about this, somebody coming out of treatment and I hired a sober coach. But my program is just more structured with that accountability, with check-ins and action plans and monthly emotional feedbacks from the clients so that we can have these measurements and have data. How is this working? Sprout Coach is interesting. You mentioned parents need help. Well, that's exactly coaching academics. We have the parents, wanting to talk to the coaches a lot. And the main focus of that is for the student and the coach's relationship. And so I was asked several times to present for parents. I need some tools. I need to know how to handle this. And so they even said, "Do you do coaching for my 8 year old, my 10-year old?" And I was like, "Well, that's a whole different ball of wax there. But what we can do is create a hybrid where we're working with the parent and then doing some mini coaching with the student because there actually is a good time for intervention." So we teach the or coach the parent on how to set up these frameworks for them within their home and then hold the parent accountable because we get busy. We have great ideas, but the phone rings, we forget. And so that accountability is so important to it. And I paid it forward when my own daughter, I had coaching for her and it worked for me because I was so busy. I would push off, right, in my own household what I knew needed to be done. So those are the four different programs, and why each one is related to each other, but yet unique needs. And we want to dive in deeper for each one of those different categories.
Yeah. The thrive beyond therapy is especially intriguing to me. I have depression. I've been through my own suicidal thoughts in the past. I've been through therapy countless number of times, been on 7 different antidepressants, but it wasn't until I found coaching that I would say my own life improved dramatically. Like therapy just never did that trick for me. Even I have a therapist that I'm working with right now, but the coaching aspect still was so much more beneficial to me because it was less about, the therapy was always, can we please stop talking about my past? It's done, it's over. I can't change that. I need to know what I can do today to create a better tomorrow. And that's obviously what coaching does. It's not what therapy's approach is. And so I love that Thrive Beyond Therapy program that you have. I think it's definitely a gap in the offerings on the mental health spectrum that still need to be filled.
I've had amazing feedback on that. And, I originally was going to call it Next Steps, but that was taken. So I found Thrive Beyond Therapy Next Steps. Well, it's thrivebeyondtherapy.com, but the idea is next steps. Because of that very reason, what you're saying is that they've gone through the treatment end of it. They understand. They've gotten some great tools and then now they need to implement it. When the boots on the ground, okay, today this happened to me, client might say. And then as a coach, it's like, okay, so what's in our toolbox for this? What are our coping strategies? What have you learned through your therapy, through your treatment that you're willing to try in this situation right now? And the coach chooses, and then, or I'm sorry, the client chooses, and then the coach can say, how will I know that's gotten done? Then the accountability right can kick in for that. And once they get that relationship going, I've seen just tremendous growth and success stories coming out of the framework that we use for that. And again, and it's all in a positive psychology way, just as the basis of coaching should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we have some limitations on our time, so the other thing that I think we could talk about that we haven't touched upon yet is how the educational system fits into all of this, right? Especially with the students that you talked about, and but that's going to take a whole lot of time. So we'll
Yeah,
you know put that off for another time. Let's
sure.
pivot real quick into there's some questions I want to ask you out of my Simple Networking Toolbook, which
Sure.
is a book I wrote end of last year. It redefines networking because the book does all the work for you. But there's some interesting questions in it that I want to offer you. So the first one is quite simply, who or what is your source of motivation?
Oh, yes. I am human centric. And so this is why I'm part of the Octopus movement, is I know I have a system that works and changed thousands of lives already. And so my motivation comes from humanity and people that are struggling and not living up to their fullest potential. And they know it and they feel it. And I love to see that spark, grow from those. So I'm truly, you know, human centric, and that is my motivation.
That is beautiful. I love that. You mentioned the global aspect of the octopus movement, even so. The next question naturally has to be, what is a place you haven't been to yet but really want to visit?
Are you talking location wise?
Yeah, it could be a location, city, country, anything you want to, any place you haven't been to yet but you really want to visit.
Oh, that's a really easy one. Okay. So after 2020, I had it all set to go to Bali. So there's my answer, Bali. And, they wouldn't let us in. And in 22, I tried to go, still wouldn't let us in. And so I got so busy with all these different companies, I haven't gone, and I've already said to the family, "Next winter, I am going." So I really would like to go to Bali and, work and just, do some yoga, do a little surfing, and do some writing, and, just take a little hiatus. Yeah. I've
Yeah, that's
traveled
awesome.
quite a bit in the world, but, Bali I've not been to.
Yeah, I haven't been to yet either. Although Dave Gieselman, who was on the podcast not too long ago, he's a breath coach, and he actually had a retreat in Bali. I want to say in March of this year, and so I heard some stories, and yeah, it's a beautiful place. That's definitely on my bucket list as well. All right,
Okay.
last question from me for now. This is the oddest question I've ever asked, but it's also the funnest question, and that's why I keep asking it. Would you rather have a cat that barks or a dog that meows?
Can you repeat that one time? If I would I
Oh,
rather
sure.
have
A cat that barks or
a
a dog that meows?
oh, that's really interesting. I'm gonna say a dog that meows. I like dogs in general, so I'm a dog person, and I love animals, all animals, but yeah, dogs that meow because the barking can be incessant at times. And it seems like a is fulfilling a need, and a bark can be aggressive and territorial. And
Mm.
so maybe that plays to my nurturing side.
No, that's awesome. The way I've always looked at that question too is, I think a dog could be more easily trained to not meow than a cat could be trained to not bark. So, if the meowing becomes
That
overwhelming, I think there's probably ways with the dog at least. I've only ever had one cat in my life, so I don't know how trainable they really are. But I know some people are really good at that. All right. This next question comes to you from the previous guest on the show. As you know, every guest gets to ask the next guest a question, not knowing who that person is, what we're going to talk about, or when we're even going to record. So, Sajad Nachafi wants to know, what is the best under $100 purchase that you have made recently that has changed your life?
oh, I feel like we should have those TikTok beep, the little music in the background as I'm like thinking, best
Yeah.
$100 purchase that has changed my world. Something that I'm just, right now my head's in business and I don't want to do that because there's, some real valuable things. I'm like, that was a good find. So I'm gonna shift and go vanity here and go with a product that I used for myself in the beauty world, and it was a facial oil that is been amazing because I tend to forget water, and so that helped me. But that seems kind of lame because I feel like I could give a really good tip on some great purchases. Okay, I'm going to give one, and here it is. I signed up for an app that I'm going to be promoting because it is amazing and it's cheap, and it is going to change the world for neurodivergent learners. But you have to be a client to know exactly which one it is. No,
Mm.
but it's amazing, and so, business-wise, I'm constantly hunting down things for clients and for myself, and this one particular one takes, studying or note-taking to a whole new level. If you are somebody who is challenged by reading, comprehending, maybe dyslexia, and this app will change the world and even help you study for tests. So academically, it was a huge find, and I'm actually doing a lot of testing for them because it's so amazing. So that's my hot topic right now. But on a personal note, some facial oil.
No, that's perfectly fine. I mean, if that is something that improves your own quality of life, right? That
Yeah,
facial oil, then I think that's perfectly fine. I think it's a great answer.
yeah.
Well, listen, it's your turn. What question would you like to ask the next guest, not knowing who that person is, when we're going to record, or what we're even going to be talking about?
Oh my goodness. Yes, you're putting me right on the spot. And so I'm gonna be like really quick on my feed. And I'm looking visually at your success work. And I'm gonna play something off of that. And that is this. How do you define success for you in your life?
I think it's a very
And
simple question. I think it's yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
and I guess, well, it's just one question, right? And are you are you living it? Are you implementing it?
I think that follow-up is absolutely, important there as well. The "Are you living it?" No, I think it's a great question, and it goes to the fact that we all define success for ourselves, right? There's no, definition of success that works for you and for me. It's what we each individually and uniquely define for ourselves. So that's a great question. Awesome. Well, listen,
Yeah.
how can
I
people
personally had to go through that journey myself in the last 6 months, and what I thought was living success, I was asked some key questions, and I had to reflect and realize I wasn't, because there was something in my body telling me that things weren't exactly right, and so I made some changes, and, in the last 6 months, and, I am walking my talk and putting myself in that, creating the environment so that I am living to what I define as success in my life. But it was hard, and I had to reflect and really stop and go, this is hard. I don't want to make a change, but if I want to be true to myself, what I know is success in my life, this I cannot operate in this way anymore. And it was hard because I had to make some decisions and move away from some contacts and things in my life that were not providing me in what I needed to be successful in my life. And when I say life, I'm just saying how I show up at work, how I show up at home, everything.
yeah. And I think that that is something we all need to do for ourselves, which, just to pitch coaching again, right? If you are lost with that, find yourself a good coach to work through these kinds of thoughts because it can really accelerate you coming to the right conclusion for yourself so that ultimately you not only know how to define success for yourself but also know how to get there, right?
Yeah.
So
And if you
that's
are a
beautifully said.
coach, because this is what happened to me, I was speaking with somebody and they were a coach, and I went to them for one thing and I came away with this reflection and like, okay, that was the real reason why I needed to talk to this person.
Hmm.
And it went into this whole series of reflection for myself and change that needed to happen. And once I committed to that change, everything, the doors just opened and the change was like, we've been waiting for you to come to this realization. So, here's the pathway now.
Yeah, that's the universe trying to tell you something for sure, no doubt. Speaking of the universe, how can the universe find you? How can they connect with you? How can they reach out to you?
Wonderful. Thank you for asking. So I these days I'm on LinkedIn so much. It's such a great way. So Coach Michelle Raz, but my flagship site razcoaching.com is where you can find me, talk about the corporate stuff, and then I do have a link out to coachingacademics.com, thrivebeyondtherapy.com. Listen to these different subsidiaries are the best ways. But me personally, Michelle at razcoaching.com is a great email. But I love
Awesome.
connecting on LinkedIn. That I really do. I love my LinkedIn community. In fact, I am going tomorrow to meet up with a bunch of women at a winery that we're all connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
So
that's so cool.
it's
No,
it's
I
such a
agree.
great
LinkedIn is a
feeling.
wonderful place. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love being on LinkedIn. It's definitely the social media platform I'm the most active on. So I hear you on that. So LinkedIn is great. This is awesome. I'll make sure all your links are in the description below so people can find them more easily and readily and connect with you if they so desire. Any final words from you to the world, Michelle?
Well, I'm just so happy that I met you, Felix. We're in like two different groups through LinkedIn. And I appreciate your work getting out there to promote what you do and to highlight people like myself. And so I thank you for the highlight, the spotlight, podcast spotlight. I appreciate that. And again, on that final note is that, find your true gift and work around it with any kind of challenges that you feel are blocking you. And if you're lost on how to do that, get with a coach because they can help you problem solve that.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Well, thank you for doing this. I know you're kind of bound for time, so I'll let you go and make sure you make the world a better place today. And
Thank you
I
so
know we'll be
much.
connected on LinkedIn and through the Octopus movement and all the other stuff we're involved in together. So I know this won't be the end of it for us. It's just the end of it
Yes.
for today's episode.
Thank you.
All right. I really hope you enjoyed that. The questions that I asked towards the end are from my new book, The Simple Networking Tool. It's a great book that redefines how we network. It's all about who someone is and not what they are. So if you want to get your own book, it's available on Amazon. If you want to learn more, there's videos about it here on YouTube. So you can check out this amazing new social science experiment. I'm so excited for it. If you do get a book and you do start your own, please let me know how it goes and what your experience is like. I'm working on the second edition and I want to make it the best one yet. So be sure to tag me, let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching.